There you are. Welcome back. Welcome back, Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers, Akeem and Akatim, mothers and fathers, aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, everybody, welcome back to the road trip. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings to you, your homes, your dwelling places, your children, your loved ones, your friends, and those pets, right? All praises to the Most High. That's right. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh. That's right. Glory to Yahweh Shai. Honors to the Ruach, and my love, much love, and my respect, much respect, goes out to each and every single one of you, Kingdom Builders. All right. Thank you for being here. All right. All praises to the Most High. Let's dip in on that. Yeah, let's get some of that. Cool. How y'all doing? How are you doing? It's Thursday. All right. We're almost to Shabbat Eve, right? That's right. Almost there. We're getting pretty close. And so right now is that time that you got to pull a little bit of extra gas out the reserve tank, right? And just supercharge your way through the rest of this week, you know. All praises to the Most High. We're going to be coming up on Shabbat pretty soon. You know, what are you going to be doing to relax and to rest and to rejuvenate and to recharge and get yourself spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically ready to tackle on another week, you know? But we're not going to rush through this Shabbat, right? We're going to go ahead and we're going to fellowship with one another. We're going to pray and also give supplication to the Most High for our nation, that He's with us in these times right now, and that He continues the process of helping us to grow, right, and to learn and to become closer and closer with one another in love, truth, and happiness, man. Pure joy, not just happiness. Happiness can be, I guess, temporary. Happiness can depend on, circumstances, right? But joy is everlasting. Joy is something that is given to you by the Ruach, right? Just like wisdom. It's something that's inside of you that nobody can take away. So even if you have a bad day, yes, you may not be happy about a certain circumstance or situation. However, aren't you still joyous knowing the promises and the covenant that was given to you and our people and our forefathers, right? That's a joy that doesn't matter how bad of a day you got. That's a joy that you can't lose, that kind of a joy, right? And that's a blessing from the Most High. All praises. All right, so what are we doing? What are we doing this evening, all right? We're back in the book of the works of Flavius Josephus, the Jewish Antiquities, air quotes, right? The Antiquities of the Yahudim, right? Yasharal, chapter 8 of the priesthood of Aharon. So that's what we're going to be reading. If you have these scrolls available to you, follow along with me, whether you have the hard copy or you're following along on the blue screen online. So, no further ado. Ladies and gentlemen, chapter 8. Let's begin. Section 1, and it reads, When what has been described was brought to the conclusion, gifts not being yet presented, Yahweh appeared to Moshe and directed him to bestow the high priesthood upon Aharon, his brother, as upon him that best of them all deserved to obtain that honor, on account of his virtue. And when he had gathered the multitude together, he gave them an account of Aharon's virtue, and of his good will to them, and of the dangers he had undergone for their sakes. Upon which, when they had given testimony to him in all respects and showed their readiness to receive him, Moshe said to them, "O you Israelites," right? "O Yasharel, this work is already brought to a conclusion in a manner most acceptable to the Most High, and according to our abilities. And now, since you see that he is received into this tabernacle, we shall first of all stand in need of one that may officiate for us," right? "And may minister to the sacrifices and to the prayers that are to be put up for us." For us. And indeed, had the inquiry after such a person been left to me. I should have thought myself worthy of this honor, both because all men are naturally fond of themselves, and because I am conscious to myself that I have taken a great deal of pains for your deliverance. But now Yahweh himself has determined that Aharon is worthy of this honor, and has chosen him for his priest, as knowing him to be the most righteous person among you, so that he is to put on the vestments which are consecrated to the Most High Yahweh. He is to have the care of the altars and to make provision for the sacrifices, and he it is that must put up prayers for you to the Most High Yahweh, who will readily hear them, not only because he is himself solicitous for your nation, but also because he will receive them as offered by one that he has himself chosen to this office. The Hebrews were pleased with what was said, and they gave their approval to him whom Yahweh had ordained, for Aharon was of them all the most deserving of this honor, on account of his own stock and gift of prophecy and his brother's virtue. He had at that time 4 sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. All right, that's the end of section 1. And we're going to read what happens to Nadab and Abihu. Y'all remember what happens to them, right, with the censers of strange fire, which they brought from not the altar of sacrifice to the altar of incense. They brought it from somewhere else. They say strange fire. All right, so we're going to read about that. All right, let's get some more of this. Yeah. Section 2 reads, Now Moshe commanded them to make use of all the utensils which were more than were necessary to the structure of the tabernacle, for covering the tabernacle itself, the candlestick and the altar of incense and the other vessels, that they might not be at all hurt when they journeyed, either by the rain or by rising of the dust. And when he had gathered the multitude together again, he ordained that they should offer half a shekel for every man as an offering to the Most High Yahweh, which shekel is a piece among the Hebrews and is equal to 4 Athenian drachmas. Right, that's their currency, a drachma. All right. Whereupon they readily obeyed that Moshe had commanded, and the number of the offers was 605,550. Now this money that was brought by the men that were free was given by such as were about 20 years old, but under 50, because over 50 was the age of retirement, right? Okay. And what was collected was spent in the uses of the tabernacle. That's the end of section 2. All right. Cool. All right, section 3, and it reads, Moshe now purified the tabernacle and the priest, which purification was performed after the following manner. He commanded them to take 500 shekels of choice myrrh, an equal quantity of cassia, and half the foregoing weight of cinnamon and calamus. This last is a sort of sweet spice, to beat them small and wet them with the hin of oil of olives. A hin is our own country measure and contains 2 Athenian koas, or giuses. Then mix them together and boil them and prepare them after the art of the apothecary, and make them into a sweet, very sweet ointment. And afterward to take it to anoint and to purify the priests themselves and all the tabernacle, as also the sacrifices. Right? There were also many, and those of various kinds of sweet spices that belonged to the tabernacle, and such as were of very great price, and were brought to the golden altar of incense, the nature of which I do not now describe, lest it should be troublesome to my readers. But incense was to be offered twice a day, both before sunrise and at sunset. They were also to keep oil already purified for the lamps, which 3 of which were to give light all the day long upon this sacred candlestick before the Most High, and the rest were to be lighted at the evening. Okay, so all of them at nighttime, but only the probably the most likely the inner 3, right? Right here. Okay, so at nighttime all of them are lit. The daytime 3 are lit. All right, cool. So that's the end of section 3, and we're going to continue on and get section 4. This chapter is kind of long. Let me see. This is going to be at least 10 sections with some notes that's going to span all the way over to the next page. Yeah, we're going to be here for a little while. All right. Get comfortable. All right. Let's continue. Chapter 4, and it reads, section 4, and it reads, Now all was finished. Bezalel and Oholiab appeared to be the most skillful of the workmen, for they invented finer works. Remember they were talking about the cedars from Lebanon? Okay, let's continue. For they invented finer works than what others had done before them, and were of great abilities to gain notions of what they were formerly ignorant of. And of these, Bezalel was judged to be the best. Now, the whole time they were about this work was the interval of 7 months. And after this, it was that was ended the first year since their departure out of Mizraim. But at the beginning of the second year, on the month Xanthicus, as the Macedonians call it, but on the month Nisan, as the Hebrews call it, on the new moon, they consecrated the tabernacle and all its vessels, which I have already described. That's the end of section 4. All right, let's continue. Section 5. Now Yahweh, the Most High, showed himself pleased with their work of the Hebrews, with the work, and did not permit their labors to be in vain, nor did he scorn to make use of what they had made. But he came and traveled with them, and pitched his tabernacle in the Kodesh house, and in the following manner did he come to it. The sky was clear, but there was a mist over the tabernacle only, surrounding it, but not with such a very deep and thick cloud as is seen in the winter season, nor yet is in so thin as one men might be able to discern anything through it. But from it there dropped a sweet dew, and such a one as showed the pleasure of the Most High to those that desired and believed it. That's the end of section 5. Cool. Section 6. Now when Moshe had bestowed such honorary presents on the workmen as it was fit they should receive who had wrought so well, he offered sacrifices in the open court of the tabernacle, as the Most High commanded him, a bull, a ram, and a kid of the goats, for a sin offering. Now I shall speak of what we do in our sacred offices in my discourse about sacrifices, and therein shall inform men in what cases Moshe told us to offer a whole burnt offering, and in what cases the law permits us to partake of them as of food. And when Moshe had sprinkled Aharon's vestments himself and his sons with the blood of the beasts that were killed, and had purified them with spring waters and ointment, they became the Most High's priests, Yahweh's priests. After this manner did he consecrate them in their garments for 7 days together. The same he did to the tabernacle and the vessels thereto belonging, both with oil first incensed, as I said, and with the blood of the bulls and the rams, killed day by day one, according to its kind. But on the 8th day he appointed a feast for the people, and commanded them to offer sacrifice according to their ability. Accordingly they competed with another, Salake, and were ambitious to exceed each other in sacrifices which they brought, and so fulfilled Moshe's injunctions. But as the sacrifices lay upon the altar, a sudden fire was kindled from among them of its own accord, and appeared to the sight like fire from a flash of lightning, and consumed whatever was upon the altar. Ah, man. The Most High's fire. Alright, that's the end of section 6. Section 7. But an affliction befell Aharon, considered as a man and a father, but was undergone by himself with true fortitude, for he had indeed a firmness of soul in such incidents. And he thought this calamity was upon him according to the Most High's will. For whereas he had 4 sons, as I said before, the 2 elder of them, Nadab and Abihu, did not bring those sacrifices which Moshe directed them to bring, but which they used to offer formerly, and were burnt to death. Remember I said that? They brought strange sacrifices to the Most High. Right? They brought the wrong sense. Right? Now when the fire rushed upon them and began to burn them, nobody could quench it. Accordingly, they died in this manner. And Moshe told their father and their brothers to take up their bodies, to carry them out of the camp, and to bury them magnificently. Now the multitude lamented them, and were deeply affected at their death, which so unexpectedly befell them. But Moshe entreated their brothers and their father not to be troubled for them, and to prefer the honor of the Most High Yahweh before their grief about them. For Aharon had already put on his sacred garments. He's the high priest. Is not fit to be mourning for something that the Most High called righteousness. Right? Can't mourn for them. They made a mistake. All right. So, that's the end of section 7. Let's continue. Section 8 reads, But Moshe refused all that honor which he saw the multitude ready to bestow upon him, and attended to nothing else but the service of the Most High. He went no more up to Mount Sinai, but he went into the tabernacle and brought back answers from the Most High for what he prayed for. His habit was also that of a private man, and in all other circumstances he behaved himself like one of the common people, and he was desirous to appear without distinguishing himself from the multitude, but would have it known that he did nothing else but take care of them. He also set down in writing the form of their government and those laws, that by obeying they would lead their lives so as to please the Most High, Salakia, and so as to have no quarrels one among another. However, the laws he ordained were such as the Most High suggested to him. So I shall now discourse concerning that form of government and those laws. That's the end of section 8. So now they're going to start talking about those 613. All right, so let's continue. Let's read this. All right, let's go. Okay, section 9, and it reads, I will now treat of what I before omitted. The garment of the high priest, for he, Moshe, left no room for the evil practice of false prophets. But if some of that sort should attempt to abuse the divine authority, he left it to the Most High to be present at his sacrifices when he pleased, and when he pleased to be absent. And he was willing this should be known, not to the Hebrews only, but of those foreigners also who were there, right? The cleavers. For as to those stones, which were told you before, the high priest bore on his shoulders, right? Those huge cut stones, which were sardonyxes, and I think it needless to describe their nature, they being known to everybody. The one of them shined out when the Most High was present at their sacrifices. So one of them kind of illuminated, glowed when the Most High was there. I mean that which was in the nature of a button on his right shoulder, bright rays darting out from there, and being seen even by those that were most remote, even far away, which splendor yet was not before natural to the stone. This has appeared a wonderful thing to such as have not so far indulged themselves in philosophy as to despise divine revelation. Yet will I mention what is still more wonderful than this. For the Most High Yahweh declared beforehand by those 12 stones, which the high priest bore on his breast, or on the chest plate, on the ephod, and which were inserted into his breastplate, that he would be present for their assistance. They should know of the Most High's presence when they should be victorious in battle, for so great a splendor shone forth from them before the army began to march. Oh, wow. So before they even started marching, if they were going to win that battle, that breastplate was shining, all right, from those stones on the chest. Okay, let's continue. Thus it came to pass that those Greeks who had a veneration for our laws, because they could not possibly contradict this, called that breastplate the oracle. Now this breastplate and this sardonyx left off shining 200 years before I composed this book. The Most High Yahweh having been displeased at the transgressions of the laws, of which things we shall further discourse on a fitter opportunity. But I will now go on with my proposed narration. That's the end of section 9, okay? There's one more section, and then we have some notes that are going to be kind of cleaning up everything, all right? All right, all praises to the Most High. All praises. All right, let's continue. All right, let's go. Section 10, let's begin. All All right. And it reads, the tabernacle being now consecrated, and a regular order being settled for the priest, the multitude judged that the Most High Yahweh now dwelt among them, and betook themselves to sacrifices and praises to the Most High, as being now delivered from all expectation of evils, and as entertaining a hopeful prospect of better times in the future. They offered also gifts to the Most High, some as common to the whole nation, and others as peculiar to themselves, and these tribe by tribe. For the heads of the tribes combined together 2 by 2, and brought a wagon and a yoke of oxen. These amounted to 6 when they carried the tabernacle when they journeyed, besides which each head of the tribe brought a bowl and a charger and a spoon of 10 derricks full of incense. Now the charger and the bowl were of silver, and together they weighed 200 shekels, but the bowl cost no more than 70 shekels. And these were full of fine flour mingled with oil, such as they use on the altar about the sacrifices. They brought also a young bullock and a ram with a lamb of a year old for a whole burnt offering, and also a goat for the forgiveness of sins. Each of the heads of the tribes brought also other sacrifices called peace offerings, for every day 2 bulls and 5 rams with lambs of a year old and kids of goats. These heads of tribes were 12 days in sacrificing, one sacrificing each day. Now Moshe went no longer up to Mount Sinai, but went into the tabernacle and learned of the Most High what they were to do, and what laws should be made, which laws were preferable to what have been devised by human understanding, and proved to be firmly observed for all time to come, as being believed to be the gift of the Most High Yahweh, so that the Hebrews did not transgress any of those laws, either as tempted in times of peace by luxury, or in times of war by distress of affairs. But I say no more here concerning them, because I have resolved to compose another work concerning other laws. That's the end of section 10, and that's the end of this chapter 8. All right, chapter 8 of the priesthood of Aharon, right? And also kind of just how they started getting down on these laws, right? So we're going to go ahead and read these notes, and on these notes there's 6 points. The 6th point being the longest one. We'll go ahead and get through that, and then work our way on over to chapter 9 tomorrow evening. All praises to the Most High. Isn't that right? Correct. Yes. Let's go. Jewish Antiquities, book number 3, chapter 8, notes, point number 1, and it reads, it is well worth our observation that the 2 principal qualifications required in this section for the constitution of the first high priest, that's also reference, that he should have an excellent character for virtuous and good actions, as also that he should have the approval of the people, are here noted by Josephus, even where the selection belonged to the Most High himself, which are the very same qualifications which the Christian religion requires in the choice of Christian bishops, right, man? Come on, Christian whatever. Priests and deacons, as the apostolical constitutions inform us. Book number 2, chapter 3. Salake, whatever, man. Point number 2. Let's get ready. Jewish Antiquities, book number 3, chapter 8, notes, point number 1, and it reads, it is well worth our observation that the 2 principal qualifications required in this section for the constitution of the first high priest, that's also reference, that he should have an excellent character for virtuous and good actions, as also that he should have the approval of the people, are here noted by Josephus, even where the selection belonged to the Most High himself, which are the very same qualifications which the Christian religion requires in the choice of Christian bishops, right, man? Come on, Christian whatever. Priests and deacons, as the apostolical constitutions inform us. Book number 2, chapter 3. Salake, whatever, man. Point number 2. Let's get ready. Point number 2, and it reads, this weight and value of the Jewish shekel in the days of Josephus equal to about 2 S or 10 D sterling. I'm not really familiar with those measurements, but 2s, which are 10d sterling, is, by the learned Jews, or the Yahudim, owned to be 1/5 larger than were their old shekels, which determination agrees perfectly with the remaining shekels that have Samaritan inscriptions, coined generally by Simon the Maccabee, about 230 years before Josephus published the Antiquities, which never weigh more than 2s, 4d, and commonly but 2s, 4d. See Reland de Numis, Samaritanorum, page 138. All right, that's the end of point number 2. And there's some of these things that I don't understand right here, so I'm going to have to look some of this stuff up. But I want to be thorough, and I'm going to read everything from front cover to back cover. All the points, all the appendices, all that. We're reading it all. Point number 3. The incense was here offered, according to Josephus' opinion, before sunrise and at sunset. But in the days of Pompey, according to the same Josephus, the sacrifices were offered in the morning and at the 9th hour. Reference Antiquities, book number 14, chapter 4, section 3. Roman numerals, man. All right, that's the end of point number 3. Point number 4. Thus we may correct the opinions of the modern rabbis who say that only one of the 7 lamps burned in the daytime, whereas our Josephus, an eyewitness, says that there were 3. That's the end of section or point number 4. There was 3 at daytime. Point 5. Of this strange expression that Moshe left it to the Most High to be present at his sacrifices when he pleased and when he pleased to be absent, see the note on book number 2 against Appian, section 16. That's the end of point 5. All right, point number 6. This one's kind of long. All right, here we go. These answers by the oracle of Urim and Thummim, right? The stones, Urim and Thummim, which words signify light and perfection, or as the Septuagint render them, revelation and truth, and denote nothing further that I see, but the shining stones themselves, which were used in this method of illumination and revealing of the will of the Most High, after a perfect and true manner, to his people Yasharal. I say these answers were not made by the shining of the precious stones after an awkward manner in the high priest's breastplate, as the modern rabbis vainly suppose. For certainly the shining of the stones might precede or accompany the oracle, without itself delivering that oracle. See reference Antiquities, book number 6, chapter 6, section 4. But rather by an audible voice from the mercy seat between the cherubim. See Predus connect, right, at the year 534. This oracle had been silent, as Josephus here informs us, 200 years before he wrote his Antiquities, or ever since the days of the last good high priest of the family of the Maccabees, John Hyrcanus. Now, it is here very well worth our observation that the oracle before us was that by which the Most High Yahweh appeared to be present with, and gave directions to his people Yasharel as their king. All the while they submitted to him in that capacity, and did not set over them such an independent kings as governed according to their own wills and political maxims, right? Instead of divine directions. Accordingly, we meet with the oracle, besides angelic and prophetic admonitions, all along from the days of Moshe and Joshua to the anointing of Saul, or Saul, the first of the succession of the kings. Reference Numbers 27 and 21. Also reference Joshua 6 and 6, etc. Also Joshua 19 and 50. Also Judges 1 and 1, Judges 18, 4 through 6, Judges 30, Judges 31, Judges 20, 18 and 23. Also Judges 20, 26 through 28. Also Judges 20, 21 and 1, etc. 1 Samuel 1 and 17. Also 1 Samuel 18, 3 per dot. 4 per dot, until Saul's rejection of the divine commands in the war with Amalek, when he took upon him to act as he thought fit, right, in 1 Samuel 14 and 3. Then this oracle left Saul entirely, which indeed he had seldom consulted before. 1 Samuel 14 and 35. 1 Chronicles 10 and 14. Also reference Antiquities, Book 7, Chapter 4, Section 2. And accompanied David, who was anointed to succeed him, and who consulted the Most High Yahweh by it frequently, and complied with its directions constantly. Reference 1 Samuel 14 and 37. All right, David was consulting an oracle. All right, reference 1 Samuel 15, 26, 1 Samuel 22 and 13. Also, 2 Samuel 2 and 1, 1 Chronicles 14:10. And reference Antiquities, book number 4, chapter 12, section 5. Okay, Saul indeed, long after his rejection by the Most High, and when Yahweh had given him up to destruction for his disobedience, did once afterwards try to consult the Most High when it was too late. But the Most High would not then answer him, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Reference 1 Samuel 28 and 6. Nor did any of David's successors, the kings of Judah, Yahudah, that we know of, consult the Most High by this oracle, until the very Babylonian captivity itself, when those kings were at an end, they taking upon them, I suppose, too much of despotic power and royalty, and too little knowing of the Most High of Yasharel, for the supreme king of Yasharel, though a few of them consulted the prophets sometimes, and were answered by them. At the return of 2 tribes, without the return of the kingly government, and restoration of this oracle was expected. Reference Nehemiah 7, 63, 1 Ezra 5 and 40, 1 Maccabees 4 and 46, also 1 Maccabees 14 and 41. All right, cool. And indeed, it may seem to have been restored for some time after the Babylonian captivity, at least in the days of that excellent high priest, John Hyrcanus, whom Josephus esteemed as a king, a priest, and a prophet, and who, he says, foretold several things that came to pass accordingly. But about the time of his death, he here implies that this oracle quite ceased, and not before. The following high priests, now putting diadems on their heads and ruling according to their own will and by their own authority, like the other kings of the pagan countries about them, so that while the Most High of Yasharel was allowed to be supreme king of Yasharel, and his directions to be their authentic guides, the Most High Yahweh gave them such directions as their supreme king and governor, and they were properly under the theocracy by this oracle of Urim. But no longer, see Dr. Bernard's notes here, but no longer, though I confess I cannot be esteemed the high priest Jadus's divine dream. Reference Antiquities, book number 11, chapter 8, section 4. And the high priest Caiaphas's most remarkable prophecy, reference John 11, 47 through 52, as 2 small remains or specimens of this ancient oracle, which properly belonged to the Jewish high priest, nor perhaps ought we entirely to forget that eminent prophetic dream of our Josephus himself, one next to a high priest, as of the family of the Asamoneans, or Maccabees, as to the succession of Vespasian and Titus to the Roman Empire, and that in the days of Nero, and before either Galba, Otho, or Vitellius were thought to succeed him. Jewish War, Book 3, Section 8, Chapter 8, Section 9. This, I think, may well be looked on as the very last instance of anything like the prophetic Urim among the Jewish nation, and just proceeded the fatal desolation. But how it could possibly come to pass that such great men as Sir John Marsham and Dr. Spencer should imagine that this oracle of Urim and Thummim, with other practices as old or older than the law of Moshe, should have been ordained in imitation of something like them among the Egyptians, which we never hear of until the days of Diodorus Siculus, Aelian, and Maimonides, or a little earlier than the Christian era at the highest, is almost unaccountable. While the main business of the law of Moshe was evidently and to preserve the Israelites from the idolatrous and superstitious practices of the neighboring pagan nations. And while it is so undeniable that the evidence for the great antiquity of Moshe's law is incomparably beyond that for the like of greater antiquity of such customs in Mizraim or other nations, which indeed is generally none at all, it is most absurd to derive any of Moshe's laws from the imitation of those heathen practices. Such hypotheses demonstrate to us how far inclination can prevail over evidence, and even some of the most learned part of mankind. And that's just their thoughts. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. All right, because the notes are given to you by someone who's probably in the Christian church. Okay, so grain of salt. All right, this book was written long before the awakening. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so all praises to the Most High. That's the end of the notes, and that's the end of chapter 8. Cool. But yes, eat the meat, spit out the bones, especially when you're reading the notes. That's man's opinion of what he's reading, and he probably calls himself a theologian, right? Right, with no wisdom, truth, understanding, or knowledge, and none whatsoever, right? Touching scrolls that don't belong to him, you know what I'm saying? Shame, and slap the back of that hand, you know what I'm talking about? All right, but that's the end of that one. Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers, Akeem and Akatim. That's right. My Mishpachah, my family, right? My brothers and my sisters. Thank you for being here on this little trip with me. I know it was a little bit longer, but thanks for being patient. We got through it. A couple of little hiccups there, here and there, but we trying to be consistent now, But until we read again, as I always try to tell you, this is the road trip, so be safe as you're driving to and fro up and down the roads, especially when you're traveling with those kiddies in the car, right? Or traveling it with anybody in the car, right? And yourself. Please be safe out there, And I will see you all very soon, Yahweh willing, on the next one, right? All praises to the Most High. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Yeah.